So we're on Vayetze, page 144. It's we're going to spend a lot of time speaking about Yaakov and the development of his family.
Rabbi, just before we start, Sheila brought up a very good thing. Why do we never have any lectures, and it's all around, on the Haftarahs?
Well, I don't know why we don't. I know that I did one here, and I couldn't get people to come. I don't know why, because it's very interesting.
Yes,
the Haftarahs, because the reason why you pick a Haftarah for a particular week, even without thinking about what the Haftarah itself says, just why you do it is very interesting. But I've done that. But I couldn't get people to come for two things. I couldn't get them to come for any classes about the prophets, and I couldn't get them and the Haftarah is primarily from the prophets. I couldn't get people to come to that one either. I don't know, maybe it's time to try again. But I think it's an easy class to give, but with a lot of depth.
We'd be interested.
Yeah, well, we'd have to find the right time to do it, but we can work on that. Or maybe we'll include it when we do our class. So let's see here. Vayetze Yaakov Bereshis. So Yaakov went out to Beersheba, Vayelech Harona, and he went to a place called Haran. Now, the first thing that they ask is about why does it tell us that Yaakov went out? In other words, it says, it's like I left my house and I went to shul. Well, if I went to shul, I definitely left my house. I'm not in my house. So why are you telling me he went out from Beersheba and he went to Haran? We know he was in Beersheba. It already told us that. So it's not like, they want us to know where he was. So the commentaries tell us that it says when a righteous person, when a tzaddik leaves a city, leaves a community, it makes an impression. There's an effect. That a righteous person living in a certain place who leaves that place, it has an effect on the place, right? And most likely it means a negative effect. Now, that's an important statement. It tells you that someone, right, a righteous person, they have certain, let's say, protection. They have certain effect on people through their personality, through their character, and people will emulate them. Right? If you live in a family where everybody is honest, then chances are you'll be honest. I don't mean you have free will, but chances are if everyone you know is honest, you'll be honest. Or if there are certain things that people won't do, they'll do anything, but they won't eat pig. You probably won't eat pig either, because you're in that environment. So if you have a tzaddik, like a person who's a great righteous person like Yaakov, he's going to have an effect on everyone around him. So they're telling you that when he leaves, there's an effect. That is to say that a tzaddik has a metaphysical or spiritual effect on a community, which is actually seen physically. You can actually see it, the change in how people act. Now, the problem with this is Avram and Yitzchak also left places, right? Avraham left places, so why does the Torah wait till Yaakov to tell us that when Yaakov went out from Beersheba, it had an effect? You can tell me when Avram went out from wherever he was, it had an effect. When Yitzchak went from where he was, it had an effect. Why are we waiting already to the third generation to teach us something that they should have taught us earlier? And it's almost as if it's telling us that maybe only Yaakov was a tzaddik, and the other two weren't as big as tzaddikim, Avram and Yitzchak, as Yaakov was. And therefore, right? So what is it trying to say? So I saw in one of the commentaries what I thought was a brilliant answer, and that was, if you know who Avram was famous for being an outgoing, caring person. He cared about every person, and if somebody had a problem, it was his problem. It was his own problem. Like, he took it to heart. He tried to help people. He reached out to people. He was known for his kindness. That's what he was known for. Avram was known for chesed, doing kindness. Okay, so that had, of course, had an effect on people, right? Yitzchak was known for his strength of personality, his discipline, and you saw, if you saw Yitzchak, it was clear that you would emulate that. I mean, you'd see how disciplined he was, how strict he was on himself, but not on others, how he was careful in everything he did, how much discipline he used on himself, how he stood up to others who attacked his people. Right? All of these are examples of a very strong, disciplined personality. Then along comes Yaakov. And what is Yaakov known for? Sitting in a house and studying Torah. That's what he was known for. He was He basically was a righteous person who wanted to learn everything he could from God, and then he would live that way. So if you had to pick which one of the three had the least effect physically on the community, it would be Yaakov. Because Avram, everybody knew when Avram was around. They probably lined up and said, people lined up to go and tell him their troubles so he could help them. With Yitzchak, right, you knew he was there because nobody would mess with the community because he was such a strong, disciplined person. Yaakov sat in the yeshiva all day and he learned Torah. Right? You'd say, like, if you've got, let's say a yeshiva and a couple of shuls and you have some rabbis in the community, then who's going to have the biggest effect on the community is going to be anyone but the yeshiva, because all the yeshiva basically does has an effect on those who are inside the yeshiva. But outside the yeshiva, that their goal is to study and learn Torah. What kind of effect are they going to have on people who are a kilometer away? They're not learning Torah. Right? If you're not learning Torah, then I have nothing to do with you. I'm not against you. I just don't see you. I'm in here learning Torah from 5 in the morning till 10 at night every day, 7 days a week. That's what I do. So the Torah is telling us a very important message here. And it's saying that it purposely waited to tell us this message with Yaakov because he was the one who is the least logical of the three that would make an effect on people when he left. Because what kind of effect would he have? If he sat and he learned in yeshiva all the time and he leaves town, 90% of the city probably don't even know he was here in the first place. He was sitting in yeshiva all day learning Torah. He wasn't helping people. He wasn't involved in community. He wasn't doing kindness. He was sitting and learning. So the Torah is telling you that when you have people like that in your community, it has an effect on your community. Even if you don't see it, it does. It affects them and it affects them in many ways. Like we have here, a kollel moves into our community 10 years ago, and that kollel, basically, what is a kollel? It takes men, young men primarily, who want to grow in their learning, and they learn 7 days a week, 15 hours a day. That's all they do. That's what a kollel is. They learn all the time. So you'd say, well, what kind of an effect can that have on our community? But it's had an enormous effect on our community. First thing is it brought more people into the community who are like-minded, but who are not necessarily studying all the time. So you have now a whole community around them of people who are similar or who may have learned in kollel earlier, but aren't anymore, who are now involved in Jewish life. They're well-educated, they know what they're doing, they know how to help, and they do. So that's one. Secondly is just the people themselves. Someone in your city learning Torah that you help support to learn Torah has an effect on the city. And as much as it doesn't appear that way, the effect is in the Torah's eyes, that has an effect on the city. That every city should have a group of people who study Torah, and if the city needs to put money together to make that happen, the city should do it. Because it has an effect on the city. It makes the city a better place in many different ways. So that's why the Torah tells us with Yaakov, because he's the one who, for all practical purposes, would have had the least effect on the community. But yet his effect was so profound that the Torah tells you that Yaakov left Beersheba, and it was known in the city. That's what Rashi says, that it was felt in the city, because his presence made a difference, even though he didn't do anything but sit inside of the yeshiva and study every day. That's what it tells you. So now that he's going on his way to Haran, it says, Vayivka b'makom. He encountered, it says, but he happened upon a place. Well, what was that place? So when it talks about makom, a place, and doesn't tell you where it is, that's usually a hint that we're talking about Jerusalem, or specifically the Temple Mount. So, and that's what it means here. It says that Yaakov was going from Beersheba to Haran, and in doing so he had to pass by Jerusalem. As he was passing by Jerusalem, he suddenly realizes he's standing on the place where Abraham offered Isaac as a sacrifice, where Adam was created, where the temple would be in the future. That's where he realizes he is. Then he calls it the makom. The makom, this means place. That's what it means, literally. In fact, you know that in not ancient times, but after the Spanish Inquisition, a lot of Jews, they left Spain and the area around there, and they went to Amsterdam. Amsterdam then was a big gathering place for Jews, and Jews had a lot of freedom there. And if you were Jewish and you lived in Amsterdam, and somebody would ask you where you lived, they would say the Makom, the place. They didn't even refer to it by name because everyone knew what you meant. Because just like for us, in the real sense, in the Torah sense, when you talk about a place, Jerusalem is the place. The Temple Mount is the place. Right? But they were referring to it that it was the large center of Jewish life was now Amsterdam, so they called it that. All right, so he comes to the Temple Mount, V'yalan Sham, and he lays down, or he makes his tent there. Kiva Shemesh, Vayikach Me'avnei Mokum. Now, Kiva Shemesh means the sun was coming. It means the sun was setting, right? And he wanted to go to sleep. So it says, Vayikach Me'avnei Mokum. He took stones from that location, from the Temple Mount, V'yasam Roshasav, and he put them under his head. So basically what it means is he took these stones, he put them around him, and the commentary has explained that the reason is because it was a wild area, and his intention was it would keep the animals, the small animals and the bugs away from him, because they couldn't go over the stones. Right? They would hit the stone and they'd stop. They have to go around, so they wouldn't get to him. So it says that, but it says clearly. Vayikach me'avnei hamakom. He took stones, right? Many stones. Vayachalom, and he had a dream. He went to sleep. He had a dream, and here's the famous dream of Yaakov. V'hine sula mutzav arza, and he saw in his dream a ladder, whose legs were embedded into the ground. V'rosho magia hashemayma, and the top of the ladder reached to the heavens. V'hine malchei Elohim olim v'yordim bo, and he saw the angels of God going up and going down. Right. So far there's a few problems with this. So let's see what happens. First, it tells us at first that you have to remember he took stones and put them around him. Then it says that when he had his dream was a ladder. The bottom was on the ground, the top was in the heavens. Okay, it's a dream, so it's possible. But then it says the angels were going up and down. So that in and of itself is a bit odd, because in a dream anything can happen. But if you're going to dream, chances are there's got to be some logic to it. And angels would be going down and up, not up and down. Angels don't come from the ground and go to heaven. They go from heaven and come to the ground. So he sees, angels are coming down, they're going back up, they're going down, they're going up. Not they're going up and then they're going down. They didn't come from the ground. They came from heaven. They're angels. An angel is the will of God manifest physically. That is, when God wants something to happen in this world, right, he says, okay, I want the grass to grow. So the grass grows. So from God's will, that would cause the grass to grow, what we call that, an angel. That's what we call it. It's just the will of God. So it's coming from God. Right? So we have to wonder why it says that the angels were going in reverse. Then it says, Vihine, and it was, Vihine Hashem nitzav alav, Hashem was above it. V'yomer, Ani Hashem Elokei Avram Avicha Elokei Yitzchak. Okay, so he says, and God says to Jacob in his dream, I am the God of Abraham, I am the God of your father, and I am the God of Yitzchak. And the land that you're sleeping on, that you're resting upon, I will give to you and your children. And your offspring will be as plentiful as the dust of the earth. And you will be thrust out throughout the world, north, south, east, and west. And all of the people of the land, right, all of the people in the world will be blessed by you and your children. Right? So there's also some problems with what he says here. He says I think the most interesting issue I find with this statement that God said is that he's saying something nice to him. Right? He's telling him how great your future will be. So he says your children will be as plentiful as the dust of the earth. I would think that since God is God, he probably could come up with a better metaphor. If you want to say something nice, I can say to you, oh, you should have so many wonderful children. They should be as plentiful as the bugs bugs in my refrigerator, right? Or bugs in my floor, whatever, right? Bugs, like, when do you want to say bugs, right? Say something nice. You should have children like dirt. There should be you have much children as there's dirt in the world. Thanks. What about what he said to Abraham? Abraham, he says, your children will be as plentiful as the stars of the sky. That's a nice one. But the dirt of the earth, like, is he trying to be nice to Yaakov, or is he trying to be difficult? So let's explain this. First, we'll go back to the angels. So we think that an angel, and it's true, an angel is the will of God, right? And and when God wills something, right, it comes down to do it, and then it would go back after it does its job. But the truth is, the angels and spirituality there is two ways for spirituality to happen in this world. One is that God gives it to us as a gift, like Shabbos. You keep Shabbos, you don't keep Shabbos, you know what Shabbos, you don't know what Shabbos. Whatever the case is, it still exists, and it's still holy. And Hashem gives us a gift. It says it in the Talmud. It uses the expression that says, "I have a wonderful gift for you. It's in my treasury, and it's called Shabbos." So in other words, God is giving us a gift, that we have a certain spiritual gift that He gives us. We have special things about it. Only the Jews keep Shabbos. This is a very special thing. So that is God giving us spiritual force for no reason, because He wants to, and not because we deserve it. He just gives it to us. Then there's the spirituality that comes from what we do. When we work, when I help somebody, when you do something kind for someone, when we learn Torah, when we give charity, when we help people who are in need, whatever it is that we do, right? What have we done? We've created spirituality in the world, right? On the one hand, a poor person comes to me and they have nothing to eat. I give them a sandwich. So who gains? The poor person has a sandwich. They're not hungry anymore, right? But I gain much more. I gain the merit of helping someone, which is what God wants me to do. So the spiritual effect of my doing that is much greater than the physical effect of him not being hungry. So that's why he says in the Talmud, the poor person does more for the rich person than the rich person does for the poor. That's right, the same idea. When the rich person gives the poor person money, so the poor person has money, but the rich person gets merit from God. So he gets much more from the poor person than the poor person gets from him. And that's what it means by the angels going up and down. That most of the time, spirituality is not a gift that God just gives us because He likes how we look. Usually spirituality comes through our effort. When I go and say, I only have, $1,000 for this month, and someone comes to me and wants money because they have nothing, and I give them $100 for my $1,000, to help them. So what I've done is I've caused a spiritual effect. I have basically created an angel, right? I have through my effort, from my giving up something that I could use. My family could use whatever it is for $100. They can go shopping for a week, right? They could do that, and I gave it away so someone else can do it. So there I have created spirituality in the world. I've made the world a better place. I've made me a better person, my family better, and I've helped that person. So I have, so to speak, created an angel. So that they're telling you here is that Yaakov is, the message of the Torah through Yaakov is, if you want to make the world a better place, you don't just ask God to do it. You have to do it. You want to make more spirituality in the world, that the world should be more spiritual, be a better place for everyone, you have to do it, not God. God will be the ultimate power behind it, but God is saying, I'm not giving this to you as a gift. You want to make the world a better place, you better start working at it. Make an organization that'll feed the poor. Go out and help the mothers who are having, who having children, can't afford medical care. Go out and help this person and that person, and go try to find a cure for alcoholism. Go out and do it. You make the world a better place. Spirituality starts here. So that's what he's telling us. The angels went up. They go from us to heaven, right? Not just from heaven to us. And that's why it tells us that in that way. Then why does it say that you're like the dust of the earth? So you compare it to what Abraham His blessing was, it's like the stars of the heaven. And both of these are true. And that's what the Torah is telling us. That the difference between stars and dirt is that while you can't count the stars, right? You can't tell me how many stars there are. You can try. You can count it. You can start counting. You can look at the stars and start counting. But you can't do that with dirt. Dirt is a piece. It's like, what is a piece of dirt? Is it a little tiny thing you can only see with a microscope? Is it a handful? What is a piece of dirt? You have no idea. So it's telling you two important things about the Jews. On the one hand, Jews have power through unity, through being like one, like the dirt is. The dirt has the ability to hold up everything and everyone in the world, to exist forever, because it's unified. It's power. A piece of dust can't do anything, but the dirt, right, which is it's just a lot of dust, that supports the whole world, right? So on the one hand, we're very powerful when we're unified, like the dirt is, like one. On the other hand, we are also very powerful when we're unified, but we're also distinct from each other. In other words, I use this expression a lot in shul. I talk about unity through diversity. We are unified as a Jewish people by being different from each other. This person is good at math, and this person is good at learning Torah, and this person is good at kindness and is not so good at learning Torah, and this person gives more tzedakah, and this person runs around like a crazy person helping sick people. Everybody has something that's different. And if you ask them, they think this is the most important thing in the Torah. Everybody should stop doing what they're doing so they can help, feed the poor. But it's not really true. One thing is not more important than the other in the Torah, but to me it is, because that's what I see. I'm looking out. I see hungry people. I want to help them. You see them. You got to help them too, right? That would be diversity. That everyone is different. We all see the needs of the world, and we all use our personality to try to help the world. But your view and my view are different. There are times when our diversity, our differences, are necessary to make the world a better place, and there are times when our unity is necessary. What you don't have is a metaphor for fighting. You don't find that because we're different, we fight with each other, and that's what the world wants. That's not what the world wants. The world wants us to accept each other with our differences. That's what God's saying here. So in one place he says we're like the stars of the heaven. You can count us. We're different. Each one is separate. Each star is different. So therefore, this star is this direction, this one is like this one's like this. Each star thinks that its way is the best way, but it acknowledges all the others. The dirt is when you aren't diverse. We all unify together for one purpose. So both of those things are necessary in the Jewish people. There are certain times when we have to do one over the other, but most of the time we have to do both. We have to be diverse and unified. And that's it. I am not one who believes that Thornhill would be better if we only had one shul and that was my shul. I don't think it would be better. Even though I know it would be nice, I wouldn't have to worry about making sure we had enough money to continue and that we had more people here, and I do believe that our approach is the best way. But I also know that there are different people, and different people want different things, and they live in different ways within Torah, and therefore one of them will want to go to this type of shul where people are like that, another one will want to go to that type of shul where people are different, and they're both right. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the diversity of the Jewish people. Even though I could say unity is more important. Everyone should quit their shul and join my shul, and we would all be unified. That's not unified. That's just making everyone come together. Unified is where we believe in each other's differences, and we don't make fun of each other because we're different. How do I put it? We celebrate the differences.
Embrace.
Right? Yeah, we embrace the differences. That's really the idea. So that's what he's saying here. So now we go on. So he says, if you just look still at 145 in the last line, behold, I am with you, I will guard wherever you go, I'll return you to the soil, for I will not forsake you until I will have done what I have spoken about. All right, that's the end of the dream. Now, Jacob awoke from his sleep, beginning on 146, 147, right? And he says, surely Hashem is present in this place that I did not know. And he became frightened, and he said, how awesome is this place? There is none other than the abode of God, and this is the gate of the heavens. Jacob arose early in the morning and took the stone that he placed around his head and set it as a pillar, and he poured oil on it. All right, so what happens? He wakes up, he realizes, I sort of blew it. I thought I was going to stay in like this hotel. I ended up staying in like the entranceway to heaven. Like I'm sleeping here, and I'm getting these amazingly vivid dreams from God. Right? I didn't realize that this is where I am. I'm in the Temple Mount. This is where my father was offered as a sacrifice. This is where, like, the center of Jewish life. This is it. This is the opening between heaven and earth, where God and man are intervolved in such a way. So he says he got up and he took the stone that he put around his head. So you see already there's a problem there. He didn't put a stone around his head. He put a bunch of stones around him. Right? Now it's a stone. Before it was a bunch of stones. Now it's one. And it has to be one because it says he sets it up as a pillar. And he put oil on it and he offered sacrifices there. I mean, that idea is not really said in the Torah. But if you think about it, it makes sense. He took a bunch of stones, put them around his body, and he wakes up in the morning, and miraculously all the stones became one. They unified into one stone. So the Medrash sees this. I didn't come up with this. The Medrash sees this. The Medrash says that originally Yaakov understood that he was about to begin a new stage of Jewish life. Up until now, Judaism was run by one person. You had Avram and you had Yitzchak. Right? Each one ran it and brought it closer to its goal. Yaakov is the third. But Yaakov knows that from him, he's going to have 12 sons. And from his sons are going to be, each one of them going to lead a tribe. Each tribe will be diverse, but unified in the Jewish people. Right? So he has that idea of diversity and unity. Right? From him, all coming from him. He knows this. He says, and the Medrash says, I know that this is the will of God. For whatever reason, Abraham was unable to do that. First, right, because Abraham had two sons. One was Yitzchak, one was Yishmael. Yishmael wasn't suited, so off he went. That didn't work. Now you have Yitzchak. Well, Yitzchak had two sons. One was Yaakov, one was Esav. Esav wasn't suited. Off he went. And now here I go. I'm going to have who's going to come from me? So he had a prophecy. He's going to have 12 sons, and that they were going to be the Jewish nation. Because Abraham tried, it didn't work. Yitzchak tried, it didn't work. Now I have to. So I want to know if it'll work. So he took 12 stones and put them around his body. And he said, if I wake up in the morning and all 12 stones are one, unified, then it's a message from God that I will create this diverse, unified nation. It will come from me, from the 12 children. And he woke up and there it was. That's what the Medrash says. But if we think about the Medrash, it's really backwards. Because if Yaakov was supposed to understand from this that he was going to have 12 children, right, and each child was different than the other, but they were unified, he should have taken one stone and put it under his head and said, if I wake up tomorrow and there's 12 stones here, then I know that I'm right. But instead he took 12 stones and it became one stone. So it sent the opposite message. And it's not the right message I just told you. It's saying, yeah, there are 12 children, but it's only one is going to lead. Just like Yaakov, Yitzchak had two sons, only one is going to lead. Abraham had two sons, only one's going to lead. You're going to have 12 sons, only one's going to lead. Not, one of you is going to make 12 sons, and they're all going to lead, which is one stone becoming 12. So again, it tells us the same message again, which is that there is a time for unity and a time for diversity. That each stone represented a tribe. One tribe was different than the other tribe. The personality is different. The way they practiced things was different. As long as they stayed within the boundaries of the Torah, they were able to practice a little bit different than each other. But they were unified in that they were all practicing the same belief and calling for the same goal and respecting each other, even though they were different. So that's the real message that the Medrash is saying is what happened, is that Yaakov took the 12 stones, right? Each one was diverse, each one could go out its own way, 11 of them could get lost and only one of them would end up being the leader, and the Torah is saying, nope, I'm unifying all 12. All 12 are different, all 12 are diverse, but they're all unified. And then Yaakov said, now I can see that from me will come the 12 tribes who create the single Jewish nation, the one nation, the unified nation. And that's how you see it from here. Now, there's a very interesting comment the Midrash says that the word in Hebrew for ladder is sulam. A sulam, that's what the word in Hebrew is, right? It says the numeric value. If you take, in Hebrew, every letter has a number, right? The aleph is a 1, base is a 2, right? Going through the whole alphabet. And very often, like if you look, we count the year that we're in using letters instead of numbers. You'll see it on our bulletin every week. I do that. It's the common way of doing it. You don't write 5776. You write the letters. You write Tuf, Shin, right? And that tells you the numeric value. So the numeric value of something, right, is a very important message. And often, if words have the same numeric value, there's often a relationship. For instance, the numeric value of the word love in Hebrew is the same as the numeric value as the name of God. It's the same. That is that the idea of love and God have a connection. That you see that between them. So there's lots of times that words will have commonality because of the numbers. So the word sulam, right, that spells ladder, has the same numeric value as the word for money in Hebrew. You say, well, it's crazy things, money and a ladder, or money and spirituality. Like, what's it got to do? So it's telling you also a message that the Jewish people are about to become a nation. Money is a vehicle. That is, money in this world is a vehicle to this world being successful. That is to say that if you want to give tzedakah, you have to have money. You want to invite someone to your house for Friday night dinner, you have to have money. You can't, if you have no money, you can't do a lot of the Torah. You can't buy a lulav and an esrog. You can't buy matzah. You can't buy candles for Hanukkah. You have to have money. Money is a vehicle. It's like, it's a vehicle meaning like you have a car. What is the purpose of the car? It gets you places. Money gets me places. Money gets me whatever I need to do. Money will do it, right? But if you talk to other religions, every other religion says that money is the root of evil, because people with a lot of money become corrupted. We say that also, that if you have a lot of money, you have to be very careful, because you can become corrupted. You don't have to work anymore. What are you going to fill a day with? You're going to fill it with foolishness. You're going to get involved with all types of ugly things. I mean, look at the celebrities, what they do with themselves all the time, right? How the trouble they get into, because they don't have to work. They have all this money. They don't know what to do with themselves, so they do things that are corrupting. So when it says in other religions that money is the root of evil, they have a point. But we say money is not the problem. It's how you use the money that's the problem. You can use money and be a philanthropist and change the world and make it a better place. Imagine you get, like 10 of the richest people in the world to put their money together and say, we want to take all of our money and we're going to fight what's going on in the world with this ISIS. They could probably get rid of it. Take all of their money from 10 guys, right? 10 of the richest people. They could change the world. They certainly could end hunger. They can bring us closer to finding cures for diseases, right? They can do it. Money can do that. Money can make it so that nobody's hungry. So, if we have people in our shul, they come to see me, their husband's out of a job, this is happening, the wife's out of that, and all these problems are going on. I just can say, well, it seems that, we have two issues. We have a short-term issue, means you need money now. Long-term issue, you need a way of getting money in the future. You have to get a job or whatever. So, first I'll give you some money. I can't do that unless people give money to me for tzedakah, right? I can't help them. unless somebody gives money to the shul for me to give out. And they do. A lot of money people give us so that I can help others. And it's a necessity. People would lose their homes. They don't know what they would do if they didn't have it. So I do this, and it's not me. It's all of you who are doing it because you're giving me the money. So their money is a great thing. It's not the root of evil. It's the root of everything good. That's what it's telling you. What's a ladder? A ladder is a piece of furniture. But nobody buys a ladder and puts it in their living room and says, okay, sit on this ladder. The purpose of a ladder is you're either going up or going down. Nobody uses a ladder to sit on. Right? You might for a minute, but you don't go and buy a ladder for sitting. You buy a ladder for climbing, up or down. That's the only reason you buy one. And that's the message. The message is that the bottom of the ladder is stuck into the earth and the top of the ladder is stuck in heaven. What is that? It's symbolic of money. Money could drag you down to the earth to make you one of the most disgusting, corrupted people in the world. Or it can bring you up to heaven and you can become one of the most spiritual, helpful, caring people in the world. Money can do that. How you use it as a vehicle. What way do you want to drive? You want to drive up to heaven and use it to help people, or you want to drive down below where you're using it to corrupt yourself? That's up to you. So the Torah is telling us right away, as the Jewish nation is starting, there are many times in history that God is going to bless us with wealth, going to give us a lot of things that we want. It can destroy us, or it can make the world a better place. So it's telling you right now, money is a vehicle. It can pull you down into the ground, or it can lift you to heaven. And that's why the numeric value of those two are the same. That's what it tells us here. Okay, so we now switch, and he's getting to where he's going. We don't have a lot of time for the rest, but we'll do some. So he says, where is he going? He was already told earlier that he has to go to get married. And he's going to go to his uncle's house. His mother, Rivka, has a brother named Lavan, and he's going to go to Lavan's house in order to find a wife. Now, there's a few questions that you have is that we know Lavan is not a good guy, right? He is not. In fact, his name Lavan is symbolic of who he was. Lavan means white in Hebrew, and it meant that he was the kind of guy that you'd meet him and he would show you his teeth. He'd smile at you, right, and bring you close. And then when you were real close, he'd stab you in the back. That's who Lavan was. He was a liar. He was dishonest. He was a con man, right? And nevertheless, the family sends Yaakov to him to marry one of his kids. So why would that be? Is because underneath it all, it was understood that even if he was a bad guy, but he came from a family that were kind to people. And that even though he became corrupted, the environment that he came from and that his family were a part of were kind. So it was understood by Yitzchak, just like it was understood by Avram when he did the exact same thing with Yitzchak, was that these people can be changed. I can reach somebody who has inside of them kindness. I just have to bring it out. But if they're cruel people, from the time they're born, their whole life, they're raised with cruelty, I may not be able to find that kindness. But even a person who's kind, who worships idols, if you change that person from worshiping idols, their kindness will come out. Right? But they have to have it. So that's what they saw. The family saw it in there, and that's why they sent him. So now he's about to go there. So he begins here on number 4. He says, in line 4, he says, he sees these people, he says, my brothers, where are you from? And he says, we're from Haran. And he says back, do you know Lavan? And they said, yeah, of course we do. And they said to him, is he okay? They said, yeah, we'll see. And look, there's his daughter, Rachel. He says, look, the day is still long. It's not yet time to bring the livestock in, water the flock, and go on grazing. Now here we have a very interesting point. Here's what's happening. Yaakov is traveling on. He sees a well. The well has a stone on top of it, so you can't get any water out of it. And it's done on purpose by the shepherds so that they can control the well, so that whoever wants water can't take it without their permission. Now, it's not because there's not enough water, because a well is endless. Right? There's just more and more water. It's not going to go dry on them. So they're doing it because they want the power. So Yaakov sees this, and he basically sees that that all of these shepherds, they're sitting around doing nothing. They're just sitting there. That's what he says. My brothers, where are you from? And they tell him. And he says, oh, okay. And look, here comes Rachel. And then he says, in verse 7, look, the day is still long. It's not yet time to bring the livestock in. Here Yaakov is coming. He's reprimanding. He's a stranger, but he's reprimanding the shepherds. He's saying to the shepherds, hey, guys, you're supposed to go out into the fields with your sheep and feed them. Let them graze. That's your job. At the end of the day, the sheep are thirsty, so you bring them to the well, you give them water, and then you take them home, and you go home, and you have your dinner and go to sleep. It's the middle of the day. What are you doing here? Someone hired you to work for them. You give them a 10-hour day, an 8-hour day, whatever it is they did. Right? You're not. It's 4 hours into the day. It's the middle of the day. What are you doing sitting around schmoozing with each other, having like a beer in the middle of the day? What are you doing? Right? So you have to have wonder about this. Here Yaakov is a stranger. He comes from nowhere. He sees these guys. And it's like me. I'm walking down the street and I see them building a building over there. And I see the guys building the building are just sitting around. Like they're just sitting around drinking. They're not building the building. It's not my building. They don't work for me. But I go and I go, hey, what's with you guys? Well, the guy hires you to build their building. Go build their building. What are you doing sitting there? So you think they're going to say, oh yeah, you're right. We're going to go do it. So what do they say? So he says, look, the day is still long. It's not time to bring the livestock in. They said, we're unable to until all the flocks have been gathered, and then they'll take the stone off the mouth of the well, and then we'll water the flock. While he's speaking with them, Rachel arrives. So what in normal circumstances, you know what those guys would do if I did it? They'd punch me in the nose. What are you, an idiot? We work for you? Don't mind your own business and go back doing what you guys do. We're taking a break, or we're taking it off. What are you going to do? Complain to our boss? Like it's not your job, it's not your business, nothing, right? These guys give him an answer. They give him a very nice answer. So why is that? So it's because of how he started the conversation. He says, "My brothers, where are you from?" That's why they answered him right. Because when you talk to people, and you meet them, and you have to say something sometimes harsh to people, if they know you care about them, they'll listen. Right? If I'm walking down the street smoking a cigarette, which I'm not, but if I did, and someone walks up to me and they go, stop smoking, it's bad for you. What am I supposed to do? I'm going to say, oh, you're the first person to tell me that. I didn't know that. I thought it was good for me. You're right, I'm going to stop right now. Right? Of course that's not going to happen. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to spit at the guy, I'm going to curse at the guy, I'm going to hit him. I'm not going to listen to him. Right? Who are you to tell me? Right? But if that guy was someone who I know cares about me, and he knows my name, he knows my kids' names, he knows my wife, he knows, and it pains him to see me do this, and I know that, and he sees me, I'll listen to him. And that's what he's saying here. Yaakov sees these guys who are a bunch of low-life shepherds. They're not even putting in a day's work. They're sitting around schmoozing, playing cards in the middle of the day. And he tells them, hey, what's wrong with you? Go back to work. And they listen to him because he said, oh, my brothers, how are you? Is everything well with you? Right? They're my brothers. They're about as much as brothers as a donkey's a brother to the President of the United States. Right? They're not his brother. But he's saying, right, on a level, you are my brother. And I care about you. And I'm not saying this just to be difficult. I'm saying this because I care about you. I want you to keep your job. I want you to be successful. Do yourself a favor. Don't come in here and start drinking in the middle of the day. Go on out there and finish your job. And they respond positively because they say, you know what? This guy cares about me. He's right. I'm going to do it. That's the difference. So that when we in our own lives have to reprimand people, we have to say things to people that are not nice. Our children, our spouse, our friends, anyone. You will only be effective if that person knows you care about them. Because in general, you do care about them. You do. Right? But they have to know it. Right? I always tell people that they'll ask me, I saw a guy who was doing this and this and this. The Torah says I'm supposed to reprimand him. And I said, yeah, but you have to do it right. The Torah is goal-oriented. The goal is to get the person to change. not to do that anymore. Not for you to put another notch in your belt that you were able to say something to him. No, it's that you got him to do better. So the only way you're going to do that is if he knows you care about him. So, and how can you tell? I said, usually you can tell. But if you can't, here's a rule. You know his name, you know his wife's name, you know his kids' names, you know where he lives. If you don't know all of that, you have no right to tell him anything. Nothing, because he's not going to listen to you. But at least if you know who he is and where he lives and where he's from, and you haven't had any bad interactions with them, so then maybe you'll be effective to tell him to do something better. Right? The difference is you see it with your doctor. If you go to a doctor and it's a total business deal, and you come in and the doctor says, you should really lose 20 pounds. You really need to lose 20 pounds. It's not good for you, you're going to lose. Yeah, who cares what the doctor says? Right? If the doctor is your friend, and you know that he cares about you, and you feel it when you see the doctor, he doesn't have to do anything else. Just you feel it, that he cares about his patients, and he says you should lose 20 pounds, you'll lose 20 pounds. Because he cares about me. He's not saying it because doctors are supposed to say it. Right? It's not like, I go to the doctor and the doctor says, I have a chart that shows a person who's your height should weigh 140 pounds. Well, you weigh more than that. You better lose weight. I say, what do I need him for? I could look at a book too. Forget it, I'm not coming back. Or the guy says, I know it's very hard to lose weight. It takes a lot of effort. And you have to eat anyways, so it's not like you can give it up. So I know it's difficult. But I'm telling you, for your good, you got to really try to lose weight. I remember once hearing from somebody, there's no such thing as a fat old man. And I say, why not? Because they're either lose weight or they're dead. There's no such thing as a fat old man. Right? They die in middle age or they lose weight. That's it. So I'm telling you now, lose weight. Because I care about you. I want you around. Then you listen. But if not, if you don't think that guy cares, they won't listen. And that's what happens here. That's what's happening with Yaakov. He says to them, the first line, you're my brothers. Now, when I say something to you don't like, it's because I care. Right? And then it goes on, it says, so while he's talking with them in verse 9, Rachel comes with her father's flock. Right? She was a shepherdess. And it was when Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the flock of Laban, his mother's brother, Jacob came forward, rolled a stone off the mouth of the well, and watered the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother. He keeps saying that, right? Over and over. Then Jacob kissed Rachel, and he raised his voice and he wept.
He's fast on the go.
What?
He's fast on the go. He knows it.
Jacob took Rachel, told Rachel that he was her father's relative, and that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father. It was when Laban heard the news of Jacob, his sister's son, he ran towards him, embraced him, kissed him, and took him to his house. So, this is one of you find among yeshiva guys, one of the difficult things, because how is it that Yaakov meets this girl, right, and he kisses her? Right? You know that we don't do that. It's not our way of doing things, right? So first is, let's understand, and I'm not saying that I wasn't there. I can't come to understand Yaakov. Clearly, he's not talking about some type of sexual thing. But one thing I would say is to understand when it tells us that I'm not supposed to come into physical contact with a woman who I'm not related to. Right? There's such an idea, and a woman shouldn't go into physical contact with a man that she's not related to. That is talking about intimate contact, or affectionate contact is the word it uses. In other words, if it's affectionate, if I meet a woman, even in business, and I go over and hug her, there's affection there. If I shake hands with her, there's not necessarily any affection. It's a business transaction. I got 6 men and a woman. I shake hands with all 6 men, and the woman puts her hand out. She's not being affectionate. She's one of the people I'm doing business with, right? Yeah. So we have a difference in Jewish law. Where something is clearly an affectionate act, I can't do that. When something is not an affectionate act, even if it could be, then there's room for leniency in certain circumstances. So that's why you'll often see an observant man will shake hands with a woman because he has the following dilemma. The 7 people there, 6 men, a woman, and me. Right? I shake hands with all 6, and now the woman puts her hand out. Let's say I don't shake her hand. What's going to happen? She's going to be embarrassed because even though she clearly put her hand out, she doesn't know that I have a religious belief that I don't do that. She doesn't know it, right? So when I don't shake her hand, she's going to be embarrassed because why don't I shake her hand? Because she's dirty? Because I don't like her? Because she's not important? Because she's a woman and women you shouldn't touch? Why? Whatever it is, it's bad, right? At the very least, I've embarrassed this woman. Embarrassing a person is a serious Torah law. You are not supposed to embarrass people. Now, let's look at the other side. The other side is, I touch her. Right? That's what I do when I shake hands. I'm not supposed to, because she's not related to me. But was it affectionate? Was there any affection in this touch? No. Therefore, there's a room for leniency. Okay? That only goes so far. You can't say that I kissed a woman and it wasn't affectionate, so therefore it's okay, because we don't control our emotions so well, and we see that just with the proliferation of women in the workplace, there's a proliferation of laws about men abusing women in the workplace. Why? Because the more people are together and they don't have the discipline to treat each other with respect, they're going to start doing things they shouldn't do. So they had to make all these laws. Right? So we have our law. Our law is you don't come into contact with them. You don't touch a woman you're not related to, out of respect for the woman, not because she's below you, out of respect. So you don't do that, and you won't have to worry about all types of abuse that go on in the workplace because you won't do it. It could be that we're dealing with people with Yaakov and Rachel, that they were people at a level that even if he kissed her, it wasn't an affectionate thing. An affectionate thing meaning a sexually affectionate. It would be like my kissing a 2-year-old girl. Like I have little girls who come around, and they're beautiful little girls, but there's no sexual friction here. Like I'm not a sick person. There's a girl. She's it's like seeing a beautiful goose, a beautiful animal, a beautiful bird. Right? She's beautiful. Right? In her innocence, she's beautiful, and I might want to kiss her, and I might even kiss her, and I'm allowed to, because there's nothing there but just an attraction to the beauty and to the innocence of this girl, and she feels a certain warmth to me. So we have that, but there's no sexual feeling there. It very well could be that Yaakov was the same, that because of the level he was on and the amount of discipline in his life and the way that he lived his life, that it very well could be that he was the same. Just like how I might shake hands with a woman on an occasion where it might fit, he could do that. I can't say if that's the case, but it certainly raises eyebrows when people see it. But it could be she was a little kid, could have young, he was a lot older. It could have been what I said. It could have been many, many things, but for sure I can tell you that you cannot draw a correlation between him kissing her and a man kissing a woman in the workplace.
Well, he was 84 years old at this stage.
He was, or she was, you're saying?
He was.
All right, so you see there's already a distance. But even then, right, I don't think an 80-year-old then and an 80-year-old today is a little different. Right? I mean, he lived a lot longer. But he still could have children. Right? So he certainly had the ability to have sexual desire, right? He had that, but not here. That could be it. But whatever it is, what he's doing is that he sees some attraction. He sees something there, right? He sees this girl, right? And then of course you see her father does the same to him. He kisses him. It says that Lavan saw it and he kisses him, and then takes him to his house, and they tell him the whole story of what happened, and he says, "You're my relative, and just because you're my relative and you want to work here, I got to pay you." And they go through the whole story, and then we have the whole rest. Now I know I missed out talking about him switching the daughters and them getting married and the children. I'm sorry, but we only have an hour. What can I do? There's too much in here. But that's at least the introduction to the Parsha.